Kid Crooper coming at you. So, I figured since Thanksgiving is coming up and I have an ED, it might be a good idea for me to educate you all on how to support someone with an ED and how to support yourself if you're dealing with it. Thanksgiving is a really stressful time for those with eating disorders because as much as we like to say Thanksgiving is about giving thanks, ultimately it has to do with the food, and the days focused around food, and disordered eating patterns are very common in Thanksgiving. People will not eat throughout the day and then binge on Thanksgiving dinner, and that's seen as a normal thing. Someone with an eating disorder, though, you have to make sure that you're following a strict meal plan, or not strict, but you're following some sort of meal plan because you don't want to binge and then have to compensate, or you don't want Ed to tell you to compensate. So I figured I would make this video because I feel like it's a tricky time for those with eating disorders, especially because Thanksgiving and food, and of course it's hard, food's involved. So I think I'll just get started, and I hope you enjoy and learn something from this video. I'm looking down because I'm actually referencing the National Eating Disorders Awareness site, NEDA. It's a great resource if you need education on a certain disorder or if you want to get help. It's a really good resource. I mean, the national, so obviously it's good. Okay, so let's get started with ways that you can support yourself during this time. Is just know that you can build a support system. If you haven't gone out of the closet per se with your disorder, you can, if you can, have one person at the Thanksgiving meal that you trust, and then they can make sure that you're eating and they can encourage you along the way, because ultimately we don't want the eating disorder to win and say don't eat anything. So it's always a good idea to make sure that someone around you is there to support you, whether that be through distraction, so maybe they talk about the baseball game, or they talk about football, that's more relevant, but they talk about the football game on Thanksgiving. You need that person to kind of lean on, and also just encourage you. If you're I'm scared, but should I eat more? And then they'll be yeah, heck yeah, food is good, get going. So I think another factor to know is having a game plan if you have this disorder. It's really important. I'm actually meeting with my dietitian the day before Thanksgiving, and we're gonna have a game plan set in place about how I can get throughout the day without having the urges to restrict, and how to treat Thanksgiving just like a normal meal, because ultimately it is a normal meal. It just looks a little different, there's turkey and, mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce and all that, but ultimately it's just another meal. And I think this is important just for dieters to know too, is having a bigger meal on Thanksgiving isn't going to ruin your body. You're not going to gain 50 pounds. It's just not really logical. So ultimately just remembering that it's just another meal is really important. And also just knowing that all foods are okay and all foods are fine to eat. Food is food, and food is inherently neutral. I learned that in treatment. It kind of frustrates me when people get the pumpkin pie or something, and then their instant response is, oh, I'm being so bad, or whatever, because ultimately you're not being bad for having a piece of pumpkin pie. If anything, you're being good because you're honoring your hunger and you're honoring your cravings. Your body knows what it's doing. It's not gonna ask you for too much or too little. It's gonna give you the right amount. Unfortunately, if you have a disorder, your hunger cues might be a little messed up, but just know that with consistent, regular nutrition, that these issues will subside and you'll get your appetite, at least in my experience. This one's obvious, but I'm reading off the website too, but just remember that your eating disorder is a liar. If you know anything from my videos, you know that eating disorder is a liar. He'll tell you that you're unattractive and that everyone's judging what you're eating, but in reality, no one really cares. And that's just the truth of it. Like, if I'm eating Thanksgiving dinner and I grab an extra piece of turkey, no one's going to judge me. And even if they are judging me, I feel like that's time for that person that's judging you to evaluate, why am I judging that person? Why have I put moral labels on food? Because ultimately, food is inherently neutral. Coming at you again. There's no such thing as good and bad foods. Our society tries to make it so certain foods are bad or off limits or whatever, but honestly, there's no such thing. Your body processes sugar the same. So like if you have a chocolate bar versus a natural sugar, so let's say like an apple, your body processes it the exact same way. No food is poison, no food is bad for you. Just making sure that you're eating what you're comfortable with and what you think that you can do. And that's what's really important. This is another important tip for Thanksgiving and just for life in general, but don't follow diet or weight loss pages or pro-Ana websites, because there's a lot of diet talk around this time of year, but honestly, you just don't need to hear it. If you're wanting to eat something, you should just eat it. I mean, it's kind of sad how like we've trained ourselves that eating less is better or eating less is more per se. But honestly, just eating what you want is important. And I feel like if you follow diet pages, you're going to find yourself in this rabbit hole of like before and after photos, and you're going to be like, well, why am I not like that? Like, I want that. But it's not worth it. Honestly, diets don't work. I think it's like 95% of diets fail just because our bodies aren't really designed for extreme restriction. I mean, if you make a lifestyle change, that's a different thing, but diets tend to not really work. Yeah. And, you know, it's hard saying that because, like, I'm obviously struggling with my disorder, so I'm not gonna, like, sit here and be like, yeah, you know, I'm perfect, you know, I eat all my meals and snacks, because, you know, it's definitely a struggle. Yeah, it's definitely a struggle for a lot of people, I think. If you follow, like, recovery pages, even if you're not in an eating disorder, but I've noticed that, it really helps me, like, listening to people, like, dietitians specifically, that are, like, all foods fit kind of criteria, like, that's how they identify, and it's so great, because these people are trained professionals, and they're telling me that I can have a chocolate bar and not feel guilty, like, hello. Like, actually, though, let's see, I'm gonna look up, actually, you know, I'm just gonna talk from my own experience, I'm not gonna look at the laptop anymore. So, yeah, eating disorders and Thanksgiving, definitely a tricky subject. I feel like definitely having support systems in place, talking to your therapist, talking to a dietitian, honestly, just reaching out. Because I think what's helped me in the past is, like I said this earlier, but just like the whole idea of like, it's just another meal. It's not crazy. It's not gonna hurt me. I guess something I want to say is if like someone's like dealing with anorexia and you're like force feeding them or you're like trying to make them eat, that's just gonna make the anxiety worse. It's ultimately up to that person whether or not they want to choose recovery, whether or not they want to choose life, as sad as that is. Something that's helped me in the past is sometimes, like, if I have the urge to vomit, I'll just keep the bathroom door open, and that way I don't feel that urge as much, because I know that if I keep the door open, like, it's more, like, audible that I'm doing that. So that's another thing that you can do. I feel like another thing that's helpful, especially when, like, portioning your Thanksgiving meal, is just making sure that you have, like that you fill up your plate. Because I feel like it's too easy to, like, not fill up your plate, but ultimately you need to in order to, like, get better. But yeah, so basically just reach out to supports, don't follow the diet blogs. They're not worth it, honestly. And like, plus, it's kind of stupid, like, around this time of year, like, the whole weight loss thing. It's like, hi, enjoy the holidays and lose 50 pounds. It's like, I don't really know if that's helpful, you know? Just a thought. And, you know, today I was, like, stressing about it, if I'm being completely honest, about Thanksgiving, and I just did my makeup today, like this. And that's another thing. Like, if you have a good coping skill that you can use the day of, or a couple days before, or even after, I mean, that's just great. Utilize your coping skills, especially in this time. If you've been in therapy, utilize the skills that you've learned and just go after it, you know? Like, keep in mind thought challenging. So, like, let's say I have the thought of, oh, I'm so unattractive. The thought challenge would be, well, I have, like, a boyfriend and I have a family that says I'm beautiful and they think I'm worthy of recovery. That would be a thought challenge. Another thing to do is opposite action, which is basically what it sounds like, the opposite of what your eating disorder is telling you. So if your eating disorder is like, I need to, like, get rid of this food, or I need to vomit, or whatever, then the opposite would just not doing that. Or maybe, like, you want to restrict, so the opposite would be not to restrict. Another thing that you could do is during this time is putting your thoughts on trial. So putting the jury and all that into place. And then, like, let's say the negative thought is carbs are going to make me gain weight. And then you look at the prosecution and the defense, and then more than likely the defense will win, which is the opposite of the thought. So just stress tolerance in general is also really helpful. So that could be having a fidget toy at the dinner table. That could be watching a movie while eating, if that's what your family does. That could be deep breathing. Another thing, the 5 senses. I don't really remember. I think it's like 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you 3 things you can touch, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you taste, I think, but I could be wrong. Just look it up. Look up the 5 senses. By doing that, you're identifying the things that you can smell, hear, etc., and you're getting grounded, and you're in the present moment. The one that I really like is color search, which is where you try to search for colors. You can, like, identify this with, like, labeling, like, I want to see 3 of each color or whatever, but basically the gist of it is like, okay, like, while you're at the table, like, identify everything that's red. Or maybe you want a number to it. So identify 5 things that are red, and then 4 things that are orange, and then 3 things that are yellow, or however you want to do it. The whole goal of it is to ground yourself and stay present in the moment and realize that it's, like, totally fine to, like, eat food. It's, like, a natural part of life. Excuse me. I just think it's a good reminder. And it just allows you to stay calm. Deep breathing always helps. The sympathetic nervous system is really affected by deep breathing. So when you breathe in and out and your belly goes out, it's really good. It trains your brain. It's like, yo, time to relax. So, yeah. I would like to apologize because I'm not editing this video, so if, like, I repeat myself, or if I'm saying or like too much, I'm just really sorry. But I figured it would be better to give you a straightforward video. A straightforward video, just, like, real talk, as if, like, you're my friend and I'm talking to you. So, anyways, just know, you guys, that if you have an ED, this day will pass. Like, Thanksgiving dinner only lasts, like, maybe an hour, and then you don't have to think about it anymore for the rest of the year. So, I mean, that's another way to look at it. Like, it's just another meal, and once it's done, it's done. If anyone needs to reach out to me during the holidays, just let me know. I'll definitely be utilizing my supports, and just know that you are awesome. You are worthy of recovery. I hope this video helped if you're someone that wants to help another person out, or you need help yourself. There's a bunch of other videos out there about how to deal with this, and they're probably a little bit better than mine, but just because I have a little audience here, I figured I would just give my 2 cents on the subject. Stay awesome, you guys. I am so thankful for you guys. I'm thankful to be alive. I'm thankful for food, even though I'm afraid of it. I'm thankful for food. I'm thankful for friends and family, and I'm thankful for God, and I'm thankful for my boyfriend, and I'm thankful for coming together and having a good time. So if you can't be thankful for food, just know that you can be thankful for other things, and try to have that be your intention for the day. Because it is Thanksgiving after all. And it's not even just a Thanksgiving thing. It'd be good to just do it in daily practices, just saying, I'm thankful for life. And wake up every day saying that, and every day just seems a little easier. So, yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are awesome. Stay strong. Stay positive if you can. And know that there are resources to help you out, like the NEDA website and all those things. So, thank you so much.